Hello, welcome to the Crackpot
Won't you lend your lungs to me?
Podcast.
Mine are collapsing. Plant my feet and bitterly breathe up the time that's passed. Breath I'll take and breath I'll give. Pray the day's not poised. Stand among the ones that live in lonely indecision.
Well, this is episode 54 of the Crackpot Podcast. And I just posted episode 53 last night. So we're up to date.
I hope I sound sleepy if I ever did, because you actually woke me up this morning. I was bad last night. I have yet to celebrate. I finished the book last night.
Oh, which
giving
book?
up on it. Confessor.
Oh, you had even barely started that one. That's a pretty new one, right?
It's not that long. It was only a 98-page book. But it was thanks to CB, one of our proofreaders, who sent me 7 acoustic musical. I finally had some music to listen to in the year.
Oh, good.
Which I haven't done yet, so
Well, I can provide that music. I'm pretty sure I have it to the reader. And you said CB, but what you really mean is Ron Provolone is his SoundCloud. So
okay. Okay.
So I will give a link to that.
I hope the story doesn't suck when he proofreads it, because it's his fault. I want to finally join the ranks of Portlanders after, I only have a month to go out here, but I didn't manage to celebrate before I fell off to sleep. So I'm going to now, and I'm going to have breakfast. Okay,
Oh.
So I guess I'm a real hippie now.
Is that a beer?
Yes, it's
Oh, James.
Henry Weinhard's Private Reserve. What's the only edibles I have on here? It's a Northwest style lager brewed with Cascade hops. So that's breakfast.
Well, I strongly disapprove of what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad.
Okay.
You have children after all. Because it's actually a ritual I do. I actually usually always drink a beer after I finish a book, and I didn't last night.
We have a whole bunch of things. I don't know if you have been following the news, but there was this awful thing in New Zealand. I don't know how much we want to talk about. I have something else I want to talk about first.
Okay.
We briefly talked about him once before, but the guy that is making a splash with the disaffected Trump supporters is Andrew Yang. All right, so it's really strange because I think what has happened is that Trump has just become kind of a standard Republican, and those of us, including me, who were early supporters of his, and haven't entirely lost hope that he could get some things done. But anyway, the point is that now that he's a standard Republican, his sort of like Twitter army of guys making memes and stuff has abandoned him, and a lot of them seem to have picked up on this guy, Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang's big platform, the big thing he has going for him is that he supports a UBI, a universal basic income of $1,000 a month for everyone over 18. He's also on occasion said sympathetic things about the white population, such as that whites in America are dying off faster than they're being born and suffering of addiction and suicide and things like this. So that's appealing. But he's also told his Chinese constituents or supporters that if we don't do something, that white men will become very violent. We know that white men own most of the guns, and we have seen from time to time that white men can be very effective. Whatever is going on in New Zealand, the body count seems to be high. So that put me off because it's such a weird situation where he sort of anticipates this race war and he wants to basically neutralize the white population using this universal basic income and also, of course, gun control. So my question for you is, and I did not prepare you for this. Well, we didn't do any warm-up, and this is a topic that I haven't brought up elsewhere in email or anything. So, but what I actually want to ask you is, what does a universal basic income do to the human spirit, to the masculine spirit, if you are handing out yang bucks, as we're calling them, just to everyone for no reason at all, just no questions asked. Here are your $1,000 a month yang bucks. What does that do?
I think it actually be a good thing. I'm not going to take that if I'm around when it happens because maybe just because I'm contrary, but I think the universal basic income will, according to this guy, according to his plan, is not going to be excessive services to the ghost population. And if we look at what the universal basic income did for weaponizing the ebon warrior and turning him into the person that, for instance, turned Baltimore City from the monument city into the most deadliest city, grand. I think it's going to blow up in his face because what will happen is, a certain portion of the paleface diaspora will just gobble up this universal basic income and use it for Oxycontins. But then, in other words, going to become hyper-violent, and as he correctly noted, more governments, which are all evil entities, have been taken down by palefaces than any other single group of people. They do tend to punch above their weight, as demonstrated by the lifetime first-person shooter event down under. So I think his plan would actually bring the worst and the worser in pale-faced male humanity.
I agree. I sort of think that that's a potential outcome. I don't know that every group of people would necessarily react in the same way. I think he's sort of counting on this idea that most guys will just hole up in their basement and get high and hang out. And maybe that's...
I think they will.
Yeah.
I think they will. I think he's right in that. But you don't need most guys to burn the world. Okay?
Right.
All you need is a few bad men. Okay?
Right.
So, and like I said, you can look at Detroit, Camden, Baltimore, Memphis. Well, look at these nice wonderlands, and universal basic income does to the masculine themselves. So, because not every one of those dudes in those places is out there lighting the place on fire. There's a whole bunch of little nerdos, holed up, playing video basketball, on their mama's TV and smoking pot. It doesn't take even a majority of them to really kick things down the hellish course.
Well, we have that to look
you
forward
just made
to.
my day.
I'm, of course, skeptical that the yang bucks will ever arrive in the mailbox, but, that's just the way things are.
Well, I have to be, personally, I was a little bit prepared for this because my kind host out here has regaled me about something. My host that brought up some of these things to me. I didn't get my news through you, through a bad phone call from Mescaline Franklin, or through late night drinking of beer and spirits through the Simian Rooster.
Right.
And he told me about these two events. And I would just be very suspicious that There's certain laws that people are subject to in the United Kingdom, I believe, just because they have a TV and they pay a television tax.
Yeah.
They're subject to these laws. They can be locked up. Well, I would think that anything like this, a universal basic income, would come with strings attached. It would make you an instant criminal.
Absolutely.
If you even said the wrong thing.
Yeah. New Zealand is already pretty effectively shutting down any discussion of this event that happened there. They're just pulling things down from the internet pretty effectively and knocking entire sites off the internet that are hosting videos or hosting discussions. So that trend will increase, and a UBI will just be another lever against the normal person that you have to just constantly be careful or conform your thinking. It happens naturally when you're getting a paycheck. You kind of naturally conform your thinking.
Yes.
So that's Andrew Yang. I mean, I totally understand the guys who are disenchanted with Trump. I mean, it's pretty disappointing. It's funny because he really has a lot of mainstream Republican support now that the people that couldn't stand him, he's won them over somehow, and now his little fringe of supporters are disenchanted. So that's where we are with politics.
I may have been mistaken by listeners, over the past year or so being a Trump supporter, but I've never been a Trump supporter. I just like him because he's an asshole, and he's which includes. But
you're cutting out. You're saying funny things and cutting out.
Okay. He's I like him because he's an affliction upon the media class, which includes the media. Should be as a masculine celebrity in this. In an age when he passes for masculine. I mean, that's the most atrocious thing about him, is he's more manly than anybody else up there on the political stage. And anyhow, I wanted the Gorgon Queen to win. Okay, see, my view of government is the orcish view of government, where I'm either owned by Isengard or Mordor, so come of it. And I at least wanted to see an aerial combat duel between MiGs with actual Russian pilots and U.S. Air Force pilots, okay? And I didn't get that because Trump won, right? I didn't get to see that. It was my $28 a year worth of taxes, okay? But what I am getting to see, and I think what people are missing is what Trump has shown us is that the most powerful man in the world is not the most powerful man in the world. The president doesn't decide anything.
That's right. Yeah, the momentum of yeah. So here, I have a perfect example. Here in California, the death penalty has been on the ballot, I believe, twice. Shall California abolish the death penalty? And each time the voters said, no, keep the death penalty. Well, our really slick new governor, Gavin Newsom, he declared by executive order that California will no longer be executing criminals. And the next day, the news reporters showed video of workers dismantling the gas chamber, dismantling the whatever injection site or what, I don't know. There were a couple facilities in the state which were death penalty facilities, and there were signs posted closed on order of the governor. So this is what it looks like when the executive is doing the will of the government, the body of the government, and the government is doing the will of the executive, and the voter has really nothing much to do with it. And that's not what happened when Trump gave every single executive order that Trump has given has instantly been taken to court, and some podunk judge in anywhere will say, oh yes, Trump has to stop doing this because I say so.
Well, this is true, and thus the importance in the future of pale-faced death squads, okay, to the beleaguered executive. You don't, if you try to set up a Zimbabwean firing squad, you're going to end up shooting the judges and the examining doctor and spectators and the media and everything. And the guy that's been cited for execution might be alive against that concrete wall. But the pale-faced death squad will take care of things very efficiently. And I think the Wangish dude, or whatever he is, from the Orient, by way of some North American uterus, is I think he's keyed into that on a subliminal level as a potential executive.
He is. He's the first person he's getting quite close to explicitly saying no one else has come anywhere near describing what's actually going on, especially not on the Democrat side. So it's certainly interesting.
Oh, well, we're still living in interesting times.
Oh, yes, certainly. Well, it reminded me of something that I can't remember if you said it in a podcast or you wrote it somewhere, but you said that when we were talking about alt-right, or you might have been even with the myth of the 20th century. Oh, hey, by the way, did you notice that comment, the name on that comment in the Filthy Few posting?
Yes. I think we have the reincarnation of Belisarius, the conqueror from Constantinople who took back Italy from the Lombard scourge, and I think 512 AD. I think this guy's back with a pointy Greek Orthodox beard.
Wow, the name looked awfully familiar. So,
yeah.
We'll see if that is an old friend resurfacing. And what kind of funny stories he's got to tell. I'm sure he'll make something up. If he does. But anyway, you said something like that the alt-right is not really the alt-right because there is no right in American politics, or just...
Yeah, it's the most bogus term ever. The alt-right's the most bogus term you could come up with because there's never been a right in American politics. At least not in my lifetime, the center is declared as being to the right, and then progress marches leftward.
Progressive, yes. The progress must only proceed leftward. That's true.
Yeah. And I agree with that.
You agree?
I agree with this because it makes me more significant as a human being. The farther the world drifts to the left, if I was living on some planet sprung from Robert E. Howard's imagination, God forbid, I would probably be a grocer. A person with absolutely no significance. So I at least retain the power to insult in the current sense.
The reason that I bring that up, in addition to this Yang discussion, is because I got into this Twitter discussion with a young woman who describes herself as conservative, a conservative Christian, in fact. That's in her Twitter bio. I was having trouble conveying the idea to this young woman that high IQ women serve society and serve the interests of our genetic group when we have children. Not that I am trying to claim anything, but hey, only women can have children, and if high IQ women have children and have more children, then supposedly that's good for our race, right? High IQ white women. But this girl, a conservative Christian, informed me that if high IQ women were to leave the workforce en masse, then we would suffer economic catastrophe and lose our global competitiveness, and or be required to pull in immigrants to fill those crucial high IQ jobs that white men from the lower half of the bell curve just simply can't do.
You want me to weigh in on this woman's opinion?
Well, if you have a response, I would love to hear it, but I was just shocked that a conservative person would value economic development, would number one, value economic development over family development, and number two, have this tremendous misconception of the economic value being contributed by high IQ white women. Like, it's so crucial. And she pointed out the fields which are dominated by women, which include education, office management, also HR, human resources, who could forget that, and veterinary science. Veterinary science, of course.
She's missing a few.
She's missing a few. Well,
She's missing a few. She's missing a few, and I'd like to point out that I'm not, since you didn't send me a picture of this young lady,
I don't
I'm not
have
in a position to judge her IQ. Okay? She failed to point out that stripping, dancing naked on a stage is also dominated by women. And I mean, I don't know how much I care about her opinion, and unless I get a chance to decide whether or not I want to put a baby in it or not. For that, I need a picture. I mean, her voice could do. I mean, if her voice was nice enough, that the voice could just go it alone. But it's not always dark in the earth, so I have to. I'd really need a picture. God. Okay, but
oh dear.
Your opinions, Lynn, are valuable. Okay, but generally those of your gender are regrettably not worth considering. But I will forbear and consider them if the opinion is packaged to my liking. If you get my drift,
I get your drift.
I don't want to be sexist.
Well, reality is sexist. This is what it's so hard for people to understand. Reality is racist and it's sexist. I didn't make that up. Wasn't my choice.
Well, okay, I agree, but it's not as sexist as we've been led to believe. For instance, Bart has informed me that on Facebook of my 142 likers, right, on Facebook,
yeah.
the 8.5 of them are women.
Okay? Wait, how many? 8? Say again.
I think it's 8.5.
8.5.
So okay, so maybe right. So maybe there's somebody that's kind of confused in there, but whichever way they're headed, God bless them. But I just think I was astonished. I mean, I only know 3 women that still talk to me, and one of them was my mother. So I was pretty thrilled. Yeah. So I was surprised. I mean, so sexism can always surprise us.
It's true. Well, I want to point out that in veterinary science is traditionally broken up between companion animals, what we call pets, and either a large animal or food animal. Which is the type of veterinary science which is actually feeding people. You will probably not be surprised to learn that large animal...
You're talking about the latter group are the animals that shiver and back away from the rail fence when my friend Ishmael walks by.
That's right. Well, those veterinarians are over 80% men. So women are dominating the care for your pets, your wonderful dogs and cats.
Oh, the emotional support?
Yeah, your companion animals. You need someone to spay and neuter your animal and give it a vaccine and then kill it when it gets too old, and that's what women do. But the veterinary science that actually feeds people is done by men, unsurprisingly.
Okay, well, back to the picture I didn't get. I wouldn't mind a companionable 2-legged animal that somebody would be kind enough to take away when it got too old. And women are probably best set to manage that. I don't know, too many den dads at strip clubs. There's usually den mothers.
And why is this so hard to understand that men and women are different? Because we are a sexually reproducing and sexually dimorphic species. I don't know. Is that makes me so that these girls
to make this asexual, to make reproduction corporate.
Right.
maybe that's what this is about. Go on. I'm sorry, I cut you off again. I just, this would all smooth over naturally if only I had like an Instagram picture or something on my flip phone. But
Yeah,
you didn't do that for me.
no, she doesn't.
Okay,
She has
so
a picture of somebody else, just like I do. She has a picture of somebody else as her avatar. But she's younger than me, so.
Well, that puts her at least in the 50 percentile.
Yeah.
She's like half my age. So at least a 50% chance that she's worthy of the kind's attention.
Right.
I'm sorry, go on.
She and her friend told me that I should bake more cookies and scrub my toilet and leave the economic policy to the big brain girls over there. So that was the feminism. This is the ingrained feminism in conservative women.
Oh, wow. And these are like conservative Christian women, right?
One was a conservative Christian. The other is like a Save Europa type. These girls are usually pagan, but I don't know. I can't say for sure.
Oh, wow. But the important thing is that they both put the dissenting voice back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Were you suggested to do so with or without footwear?
I don't think they mentioned that if I should be barefoot or not, but I was told I would be better suited for elementary education and that I should bake more cookies and scrub my toilet, and that I was a trad. Oh, I don't know. So because you point out that women have babies, this is the only choice for our species right now, at least, I hope forever. Women are the ones that have 100% of babies, and it's pretty tough to do when you're working some kind of high IQ, very important job. So there is no such thing as a conservative, I guess. It's very rare.
Wow. Being a conservative, I guess, would presuppose there was something worth conserving that was presently in force as a cultural norm. So
Yeah.
maybe it's an oxymoron thing, but yeah, again, they're not on the right. These are people that would be on the left in any sane society. But you just put a wonderful picture in my mind. I've seen generally people are superior out here in Portland, where I'm used to being from. For instance, when you see a handsome young man and a pretty young woman, and you actually see that out here, right? That sounds something right there. That says something you often see where I come from. We see them sitting in a restaurant back in, let's say, Baltimore County. They're both staring at their smartphone. But out here, they'll actually be talking to each other. I mean, their hair might be messed up, and the guys might be wearing skinny jeans and have narrow shoulders and narrow heads and everything. But, they'll have pleasant-looking faces, and they'll actually be treating each other like residual human beings.
Right.
But I've seen a number of these skinny pants wearing dudes that look like they could be like old grunge guitarists or something, but like their big sister made them up like a Macy's mannequin, walking around with papooses on with their little babies. And I'm trying to get a visual of these guys giving birth.
Ew.
And it just seems disastrous because it seems like when dudes go feminine, they're like any latent hip capacity was just gone. I mean, if somebody was going to give birth to like a baby from the male side, I mean, he has to be some kind of power lifter that like ripped his hips up really bad, doing 600-pound deadlifts or something. So I think the birth giving thing might become very entertaining. In like 50 years, you might have guys like screaming on YouTube as they deliver some baby or something, and they're using. You got some sadistic, or my friend, the crazy orthopedic surgeon doctor who beats up bikers at traffic lights.
Yeah.
He might have fun using like a spanner or a spreader to like pry their hips open while these guys give birth.
Why are we? This is not where I wanted to go. Okay.
Okay, sorry. It could be a good way of like Darwinistically relieving some of the genetic load.
It's going to be so technological. If this is the path of humanity, it's going to be 100% technological, and it won't be. It's very hard. It's like one of the things that I have pay attention to, but I don't like talking about, is the transgender thing, especially for children. And they have drugs and they have surgery, but it's really, really hard to make the human body behave like the opposite gender. It's not, it has really horrific results. I'm sure that will advance, but I would predict that it would be highly technological things that, you have to be locked up in a lab or something. I don't know. I don't really want to think about it. It makes me ill.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't know.
We don't have to go there, but so you just rang to my parade that scene of Dr. Dredd with like the leg spreaders and assisting the obstetrician that went full grown into my mind. It just doesn't pass the suspension of disbelief that I want as a fiction writer.
Well, I mean,
it's just.
I could see that taking hold, and this is the whole thing. The whole transgender movement is essentially a fetish.
There's an emotional need on the part of the skinny pants wearing dad to like kind of experience something close to natural female childbirth.
Yeah.
Not that it would be practical.
No, yeah. So that would be like a specialty medical fetish treatment that you could get. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yes, I can write it. Thank you.
So
okay.
Gross, though.
Okay, next.
I don't want to read
that. I feel better now. Thanks.
Okay, so another thing that we want to talk about is that recently you have revealed that most all of your writing is done by a slave. You are a white supremacist slave owner.
Thank you. Okay.
Stevedore.
I call him Stevedore.
Mm-hmm.
He has a name. His name is Stevedore Jackson. Born in Galveston, Texas,
right.
1898. Okay. He's not. Yes, I have enslaved him, so to speak. But I want him in combat. I beat the shit out of a hood rat and got him. Okay, fair and square. So it's not like
law of conquest.
This isn't some piddle privilege or something like that. I beat down a black man to get Stevedore's ass in my toe. So, and Tony has encouraged me to encourage Stevedore to write his autobiography.
I see.
Which I'm afraid I'm going to be cast as a villain. Okay, so, but we're going to permit that once a week. Stevedore can have the earth to himself as he sends me out to get him a strawberry sorbet. Okay. And I do. I've already demeaned myself to the point where I'm hiding the rum because Stevedore says he needs it to finish each and every book, and I don't believe him for a second. But this is where you are. It's like, who's the slave, right? I'm walking to the dollar store every day at 12:55 in the afternoon for a strawberry sorbet.
Uh-huh.
And I'm supposed to be the master, but in any case, I talked to Jack Donovan the other day, and he told me, a man's got to decide, what hill he's going to die on. I think the hill I'm going to die on is going to my grave, just upholding the fact that yes, I'm an unrepentant slaveholder. See if you could take him away. See if you can even. You can see what it is. It's the nagging weight of my underling, okay, dragging me down the pit of his own despair.
Mm.
Yeah, it's probably my old Irish slave genes kicking in, but you can see. You ask a man to write a novel for you, drags his feet for 8 years. It takes me eight years to get 7 Moons Deep off to the editor, and what do I have? I got 8 books on slavery that interrupted this masterpiece, science fiction, that I wanted to put out there. So how do you think that happened, girl? Well, you know what? I'm even starting to pick up the lower order diction, too. See, you got me. You know what?
Girl.
We're Carbon Mike. I think I'm going to have Carbon Mike probably do the documentary. At least the voiceover for Stevedore, since his voice started to crack. Stevedore Jackson whooped Lightning Hopkins' ass in 1964 in a guitar duel down in Mississippi.
Oh.
And, his voice is cracking, and he's getting old. So we're going to have Carbon Mike speak for him when we do the documentary.
Yeah, we haven't had a guest in a long time, so you can think about that, James, if you want to try to bring in somebody sometime soon, because we've got this technology thing all figured out now. We can Skype
That's
over
true.
your cell phone. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, this is kind of a wild episode.
When I popped that beer open, because that wasn't me, that was Stevedore.
Oh, okay. All right.
I promise.
Poor guy. You have to give, in the Bible it says that if you're unhappy, you should go ahead and drink wine. I always remember that verse. So
Okay.
you keep him oppressed, but at least you give him a little bit of a relief there with the beer.
Well, I think that I've often written, or I've mentioned a few times about how I have an after party whenever a book is finished, and I have some drink, and hopefully don't smash my nose to pieces on my desk.
Oh, my gosh.
And it makes you wonder, that might have been a sneak attack, okay? Yeah, just saying.
I remember asking you, could someone have been in your room? I remember.
Yeah, it looked like a demon tried to kill somebody, right?
Oh, man.
Okay, well, that's what happens when you take somebody's rabbit foot that they've had since 1902. That's kind of making me sad and misty. All right, and I'm still stricken with a pang of guilt over reaffixing those jumper cables to the aging man at 3 a.m. You know what? When you fire up a 1954 black Cadillac, okay, and a man is attached to the other end of the jumper cables that you got attached to the battery, he tends to behave. That's all I'm saying. I'm basically living in a Caucasian version of the Sanford and Son backyard, where I'm in this garage in the middle of this field of 1950s and 1960s automobiles that are in various shapes of repair. It reminds me very much of Menando K, okay, who was a Jamaican guy that I worked with who had 3 identical Toyotas and only had 1 set of license plates, okay?
Oh, wow. That's cool.
His speedometers were always unhooked. He's the guy that whenever a brother or sister would test the waters by stepping out in the street in front of him, he'd put his palm on the horn and he'd put the pedal to the metal and he'd floor it right at him. They'd go diving back up on the sidewalk, okay? So I'm kind of like living in a Caucasian version of that, okay?
Wow.
It's really great. I've been being learned on how to fix carburetors, how to get an old jalopy through the stringent air testing
West Coast smog regulations. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do to a carburetor to make it act like some other kind of machine. So I'm learning a lot here, and I feel like Dick Gregory out in Fred Sanford's garage. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Thank you, Sasquatch Rooster.
Hey, I want to give you some Baltimore updates. I think that we had talked about this.
Cool. I'm ready for it. What's the body count?
I don't have a body count, but I wanted to tell you.
Look,
Okay, let me
start out. You're talking about Baltimore. You always start out with a body count.
Oh my gosh, we're totally wild today. Okay, Baltimore murder map. Let's see. I'm searching. Please be patient. All of 2019.
That's a good deal.
59 in all of 2019.
Yes. That's the championship pace right there.
Okay, it's March 18th.
Okay, match that Chicago. Chicago needs 590 to match that. Okay?
Yeah. So this is a really impressive pace. Okay, so the murder map. So let's look at like the last homicides this month. We had one March 1st, March 3rd, 2 on March 4th, 2 on March 9th. 1 on March 10th, 11th, 12th, 2 on the 14th, one on the 16th, and 1 on the 17th, which was, 2 on the 17th, which was yesterday.
So cries for attention. What was happening on the 14th? Daddy was having lunch with Jack Donovan in Portland, Oregon. When Homer is further away with his leer, Achilles and Hector fight the harder, okay, for his attention.
It's true.
All right.
So it's 14 in March, 1 female of black race, and 6 unknown race. and everybody else black. And the
Okay, well,
ages...
mystery meat getting clipped. This is again pointing the finger at Amish raiders, okay, from Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Right.
But, I think to be the only one pursuing that theory with any effort, at least.
And there's
Certainly not
one
the people.
50-year-old black man here. Everybody else is... And one 35-year-old. Everybody else is younger than 30.
Everybody else is a hopper. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's better than last year. Last year was depressingly high on the senior citizens getting clipped.
Right.
Okay.
So that's March for
So,
you. Okay.
That's good. That's good. We're back to warrior ethics on the streets of Baltimore. I feel better.
I also believe that we should start treating Baltimore as a metro area because it's not fair to the murder count. I think in the murder bowl, it's a question, an open question of whether it should be within the city limits or in some kind of metro area,
But right here, 80% of Baltimore County murders should be credited to Baltimore City hood rats, and 10% of Harford County and PG County murders should be credited to Harlem City hood rats.
There you
That's
go.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay.
The updates I wanted to give you, I think we have talked about this once, but I don't think we taped on it, which is that a Baltimore Police Department police officer, Joseph Banks Jr., died of an overdose. That was a little while ago. That was probably in, maybe in February. Joseph Banks. I try to say Baltimore, like that's the way you're supposed to, but it's hard for me. Oh, and I already maxed out my Baltimore Sun articles. But anyway, the one that I really wanted to tell you, so you had a cop OD. Also, Maryland driver's license are now allowing gender designation neutral or X. You can change your driver's license.
So we're going to, along with the mystery meat short-term fatalities, we're going to start seeing a spike in gender unknown. Okay, that's all right.
Okay.
That makes it more fun.
And the one that really is the one that I wanted to talk about is back to the elite gun trace task force. These guys, nobody liked them. Jenkins, the ringleader of these guys is Jenkins, right?
Bugs.
Yeah. It's just simply a gang. It's just absolutely indistinguishable from...
I didn't know him well, but I talked to a dude who knew Jenkins well. He's like, Mr. LaFond, the guy's wife wasn't working and she's driving an Escalade. He's got this big old house out in Harford County. He's the Baltimore City cop,
Yeah.
And then the other dude that he used to box on the Baltimore boxing team. Actually, Jenkins used to box on the Baltimore boxing not the Baltimore team. Jenkins used to box at the Lock Raven boxing team where I trained. Okay, and he sparred with Oliver, and so did Mabutu, the African dude that Oliver also sparred with, and that's where he knew him. I didn't know until we started working together on this boxing manual, and he's like, yeah, Mr. James, he's like the dumbest human being I ever met in my life, and living in Baltimore, I met a lot of stupid people, he said, but this dude was like the stupidest, and he said, Jenkins was just like one of those scary white boys that just love to fight. So it kind of fits with what the cop told me later on. Okay, but it also fits that Jenkins is the leader. Okay, Oliver wouldn't hire a guy to install Comcast cables. Okay, the dude's not really the leader. He's actually working for some stone cold killer bitch police officer who's somewhere above patrol officer and below commissioner, and everybody in the department is terrified of this bitch. It's like LaFemme Nikita with a badge. Okay, so anyways, that's just my overactive imagination. Any sources that can be traced from me are wholly innocent. I'm sorry. I just got that.
So, but let me tell you this latest offense that Jenkins did. He was trying to arrest a guy, and he ended up intentionally running the guy over. And then You're not supposed to do that, apparently. So he had to call his buddy, one of his other gun trace buddies, say, hey, bring one of those BB guns. And they planted a BB gun on this guy as he was pinned under the car in order to justify Jenkins running over him.
Okay, look, I haven't said this before, but I saw Jenkins, okay, when I was in a vehicle with a former girlfriend on Harford Road about 2.5, 3 years ago, okay? He had this guy pulled over, this white boy from Pennsylvania with Pennsylvania beat. They had come down into Baltimore, down Route 83, had him sitting on a curb, okay? He had his big black SUV all decked out, had his tactical vest on. These guys didn't wear a uniform, okay? These tactical guys, this task force, what they did is they just put like some kind of like Hollywood cop harness on over top of their cop underwear, okay? And didn't even have a jacket or a hat or anything like that. And there's a regular patrol officer shows up. There's this really dark-looking black cop that's waiting out in the street that looks like he's part of the tactical task force. But then this guy Jenkins is just telling this cop what the hell to do. A regular uniformed cop from the precinct, from the Northeast precinct, shows up, and Jenkins is just barking shit at him, telling him what to do, pointing at this white boy on the curb. So who knows if they were planting shit in their way. You have to be very careful being any Caucasoid ape coming down from Pennsylvania into Baltimore for fear that the BPD is just going to nab you, assuming you're rolling into town to buy some heroin. Okay, and then if you run, they're just going to plant the shit on you. Okay, so if he was true to form, he rocked the wheel of that car back and forth over this guy's leg. Okay, I mean he was like, I know the type. Okay, and I recognized him when I saw his picture on the lineup, and I never said anything about. I didn't know if he was going to get convicted or not, so I never said anything. I was in Baltimore, but I'm on the away team now, and yeah, that guy actually terrorized people in my neighborhood when I lived there.
I tweeted this story, and I said, for anyone who occasionally doesn't understand James's hostility towards police, you know, you have to understand this is the police he was accustomed to. These guys are just absolutely, I don't even know what the right word is. They're like roving bandits.
Okay, and here's an example of why you don't need police in a place like Baltimore, okay? This is about World Star Hip Hop. Tony Rooster showed this to me, but for some reason, thank you, NSA, Nazi Surveillance Army, they are no longer permitting him to email anything to me. I don't know how to take that shit out of the internet. Okay, so if you could please get from Tony Rooster and attach it, the video of the brother, okay, the strong ebony warrior from Baltimore City correcting a man who disrespected his woman in a Baltimore City convenience store. This is like a beautiful 3.5-minute beating. He even takes a 2-liter of Dutch Village root beer pop off the soda and beats this boy over the head with it and busts it open. Okay? I mean, there is no need for the police to enforce social norms when you got men like this on the scene. Okay? And the other video that Tony Rooster has to send you is also from Baltimore. There's about a dozen 12-year-old hood rats stomping the shit out of this like 28-year-old paleface, just jumping up and down on his head and everything. And the Good Samaritan that was filming it was saying, "Come on, the police be calling you. You don't need to step off. You don't want to kill this boy. You know, come on, get going. Yeah, the police are coming." And eventually these guys drift off, and the guy's like, "Yo, you all right?" And the white boy's shaking his head on the ground. He's like, "Yo, man, you better get in your machine." I couldn't even. This corner at the end of this alley in this street was so quintessentially Baltimore. I couldn't tell if it was West Baltimore, Southwest Baltimore, East Baltimore. It was anything but North Baltimore. Okay, if you could please hook these two up to show how the local militia and the local patriarchs keep law and order in Baltimore City. There's proof right there that you don't even need police, and it's just an affliction on the community. Okay, sorry.
No, I had no idea we were gonna get this wild this morning. This is gonna be a great episode. People are gonna enjoy this.
It's all. Stevedore keeps nudging me for this beer. That's what it is. Okay. So again, credit goes where it was due. So at that time, he was at Cape Canaveral mopping the floors, and that goddamn old sour-faced Nazi walked by and dropped something. Stevedore went to pick it up. He saw a bunch of mathematical equations, and of course he saw this very involved mistake. He corrected it. He handed it to the man, and Apollo 13 got back to Earth. Okay, so that's what we got to say about that.
He is a hero.
All right. Okay.
I keep this perpetual email draft of topics to cover with you, and I'm looking for.
Sorry for running over you there, but Stevedore gets out of hand when. It's just it's an old thing. It has to do with Pooch's Randa's Spanish balls, that petticoats. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't even know what you're talking about. This is
good.
Wild.
Good. Okay.
Absolutely
wild. Go on.
So I'm just thinking about how to close out for today because we have been all over the place and it's had a lot of laughs.
Well, I want to make up for the fact that, Stevedore told me, he said, I can't believe you made that fine white woman cry.
Oh.
So we supposed to call you up in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that one...
I had to,
I put all the links that you wanted, or they're in the Blogspot show notes, and you can learn more about those. And I think I'm going to do a write-up about the clothing line too. But yeah, I did. I got emotional. I don't know what came over me, but today it's just laughter, so that's good. All right. Well, what we're going to do next, so this will conclude episode 54. But before I let you go and let the listeners go, I want to inform that we're going to try something new, which is that we're going to record James reading some selections of his published works, which are outrageous in number and many outrageous stories to be found in there. So we thought we would select mostly from Harm City and have James read chapters or selections, and I'll put those up separately from the podcast, separate line of videos you'll see. So I hope you try those out and enjoy. Tell me.
I should do that now?
Well,
that's why I had this computer open, right?
You have the computer. So I'll just say goodbye to listeners for the podcast. So that ends episode 54 of the Crackpot Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's wild ride.
There is no more. If you find a place, please let me know. Take me with you when you go. Take me with you when you go. Take me with you when you go.